Well, greetings YouTube, LMS Tactical here. I hope everybody's doing very good. I just walked through a spider web. Alright, so what's going on? First of all, regarding my hand, I'm just going to give you an update because I know you just can't sleep until I tell you about the progress. So post-surgery, I don't know, what was it, about a week or two ago? I guess it was about 2 weeks ago. Surgery on my hand for the carpal tunnel. It just looks nasty to me, so I sent a picture to the doctor, and I thought they were gonna have to amputate my hand today, but looks like I overreacted. It's not that big of a deal. I gotta see him Monday, but it's supposed to be dry and it's all moist and nasty, and the stitches, they took out most of them, but the middle is split apart. You want to see it? Okay, I'll show it to you. Hang on, let me see if I can do this. Hang on, Charlie. See that? Take a good look. Isn't that nasty? Okay, hang on a second. I don't know if it's light enough to see just how brutal it was, but we'll see what happens Monday. So anyways, that's it, but at least I have the feeling back in my hand, so surgery was a success. My father and I were talking on the phone last night, and he brought up something, and I had made a video about this, I don't know, about 100 or so videos ago, I don't remember. But I've acquired 2 or 3 new subscribers, within the last 5 years. So for you 3, I thought it'd be a good time to revisit the whole carrying a weapon thing, especially since now we're talking about, I just saw a police chief from one of the cities as a result of the whole San Bernardino thing, publicly telling all of his citizens to, if you have a concealed carry, to carry a weapon. On the one hand, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. The more weapons, better. But then, as my dad brought up, the more we talked, the more I realized that it's not for everybody. And just because you have a weapon and maybe you have a concealed carry permit, maybe we need to go over a few things. I'm going to take a few pictures of the sunset on the water, and then I'll get back to you. Look at this. I never pass it up, man. It looks awesome. Look here. All right, so to put it in context, let me just kind of tell you how the conversation with Pops went. He said to me, because, he has a weapon, and he doesn't have a concealed carry, but he says, Mike, let's suppose I had a weapon on me, and I'm down at the local Walmart, and I see something, where I think somebody's going to get hurt, and I'm stuck making that decision. Do I get involved? Do I shoot, possibly hitting the kids and the lady behind the bad guy? Do I not do anything and then have to live with it for the rest of my life if the guy killed somebody? He asked a couple of those questions, and they were all great questions. And I told him what I'm going to tell you, remind you, because we all need to be reminded every now and again. None of us are experts. If we are, we're dangerous, because things change too much, man, to really be an expert at anything except maybe history. So I told him, I said, hey, look, man, the video I did in the past, I think I titled it, don't carry a weapon. And I was basically trying to list all the reasons why not to carry a weapon. Because he had also mentioned, like, what if I get sued and blah, blah, blah. Those are the exact things that you need to resolve right this moment, long before you decide to put a gun on and go outside, endanger yourself or somebody else, or your family's finances. So let's just take it by the numbers. So you see something, but you should already know well ahead of time. You should already be trained. If you haven't been trained, you need to get trained by somebody that knows what they're doing, so preferably NRA instructor kind of thing. And there are many classes. Just go on the website and look them up. There's advanced classes and the whole bit. But, let's assume that you're a good shot. Let's assume that you have a full understanding of what the law is, where you're at in terms of when you can use deadly force. Typically, it's a variation of when you're in reasonable, and that's always going to be the key word in any court. when you're in reasonable fear of death or great bodily injury to yourself or others. You know, and that's what makes that whole cop shooting where the guy shot the dude 16 times with a knife. I mean, you know, it's going to be impossible to articulate, you know, that reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily injury. So yeah, imminent fear of death or great bodily injury. And it's got to be a reasonable fear that you have to be able to clearly articulate in court, which is where you're going to end up. And that brings me to my next thing. You know, I have a lot of gun owners I fear. I don't have any proof of this, but I fear that a lot of civilian gun owners don't have a real understanding of how litigious our society is and how certain a lawsuit is going to be should you ever decide to pull the trigger. That's a foregone conclusion. You're going to get sued. Sad story. I have a good friend of mine. He's not law enforcement, not military. He was a bar owner years ago, and 3 guys got into a fight with everybody's 3 Hispanic dudes, and they were tearing up the bar and punching and hitting, and picked up a pool stick or beat. So he thought he was doing the right thing, and he gave the necessary warnings, and for whatever reason, he decided to shoot all 3 of them. So none of them died. He shot all 3 in the legs, and he's got a criminal record now. He lost his bar. He lost everything. He lost all his money in attorney's fees, and was sued by all 3 of those people. His whole life was completely devastated. And it's sad, you know, he's a good guy. But those are the realities of opting to carry a weapon. And you're being unfair to yourself and your family if you don't closely examine that reality and the realities that we're going to cover here. So if you're keeping track, write on your whiteboard, you are going to get sued. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to lose, but being sued is expensive. And it's going to happen. And it's very stressful. I've been sued so many times I can't count, and it's not a good way to lose weight, but it does work. Hang on, let me take Charlie off the leash. Hang on, Charlie. Wait, come on. Wait. Okay. So yeah, you're going to get sued. And, you know, you got to know that that's going to happen. The other thing that I want you to consider is, let's assume that you're a good shot and you hit the right person. And remember, you always shoot to stop an action. You're not shooting to kill. You don't want to ever end up in court and utter those words that you were shooting to kill, because you're not. You shoot until the threat is gone. And here again, this makes it so hard to understand that 16 shots into that guy. You know, and I don't know everything there is to know about the case other than what I saw, and I'm just saying it looks bad. I'm glad I'm not that guy. So let's just say you decide to do it, you hit the right guy, he's down and he dies. Have you ever deeply considered, you know, considering all of your religious beliefs, lack of beliefs or whatever, the ramifications of taking somebody's life? I can tell you from experience, it changes who you are. It's not as simple as it is when you're just thinking about it. When you stop somebody from living on the planet, even when they deserve it, it's a heavy burden, and it's something that you need to consider. How's your family going to look at you? How are you going to look at yourself? You know, you need to make peace with that stuff before it happens. You don't want to figure it out as you're undergoing, you know, post-traumatic stress or whatever. Hang on a second. Oh, I'm trying to find a stick. Go get it. Okay, so there's that aspect of it. there's the other aspect too that I always like to make sure people are aware of is, what if you're with your family? You know, it's happened before. I told the story on the first video I did on this subject about the cop who was off duty, got in a shootout with some bad guys, and his 5 or 6 year old daughter got killed as a result. Do you want to be a person who goes kinetic when you're with your family? You know, my family has a standing rule. If something goes down and guns come out, they need to get as far away from me as possible, because I'm going to be drawing all the attention from the bad guys. Because I'm going to be the one trying to stop them from killing everybody. Charlie, look, go get it. So, you got to have this all worked out ahead of time. Remember, you don't want to be making plans in the middle of a crisis, because that's called panic. Where'd it go, Char? Go get it. So, you know, you want to consider this stuff. Can you take somebody's life and continue on with your own life without being a nutcase? Are you willing to undergo a minimum of a year of litigation? Even if you're exonerated, you're still going to go through it. It's just the way it works. You know, with rare exception, you know, it's going to be investigated as a homicide. Even when I was a police officer, if you had the unfortunate task of taking somebody's life, you know, it was handled as a homicide investigation, because that's what it is. Even if it's justifiable, it's still a homicide. So, what the hell happened? So yeah, lawsuits. What if you lose everything? You know, what if you lose your house? What if you lose all your money? Will it have been worth it? You know, so somebody might ask me, well, okay, so Mike, how do you deal with it? I have in my head, I've gone over all of the scenarios that could possibly happen. Everything. I have, you know, what if a Chinese humpback dwarf pops out from behind that tree and runs at me with a really sharp Q-tip made out of titanium? You know, you got to go through these things, and I know at which point I will opt for deadly force. The other thing my dad brought up was whether or not it was a good idea to brandish a weapon, hoping that people, you know, would stand down at the sight of a weapon. That's the worst thing you could ever do. If you pull your weapon out, you better damn well be ready to use it. You don't want to, you've given up that surprise. And let me tell you something, man, you're not the only guy with a gun, trust me, or girl. So you don't want to ever count, you know, pull a weapon out and just count on that de-escalating a situation. That doesn't mean that once you pull it out, you got to kill people. You know, you can always downshift, but be aware that when people see that weapon, if they're inclined to kill, they may very well try to do that to you. Comes a train. So anyways, yeah, just give it a lot of thought, man. Do you really want to carry a weapon? And if you can answer all of those questions and feel comfortable carrying a weapon, then I encourage you to do so. Other than that, this is LMS Tactical, and I am out of here. Toot toot.